There you have them. That is our distinguished guest. That is, well, a man I can actually almost call a distinguished senator. Well, that is Nigerian senator in our own homes. Okay, so this is Nelson Ekujumi. You are welcome to Close Flow.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now, quickly, I know you are not, you're a media person, so this is like a home.
Absolutely.
Okay, you're welcome home.
Thank you very much for having me.
So what are you giving to Nigerians?
Well, I'm going to share my knowledge with Nigerians on how to make our society better.
Now, something is saying to us that he's being careful so that all of you will not run away. But just be ready to ask him all the questions you want to ask him because he's more than capable. Now, one thing I can say to him again is this. He's been on this space, that is media space, for years. But I want him to take us back to the street level where we can actually deal with democratic tenets and benefits. So, let's hit it running. Let's waste any time. Do you think military influence or military persistency in the way we run governments in Africa, you think it's pervasive or you think it's something that it will eventually disappear? Do you see a danger anywhere in this?
Yes, I see a danger of we Africans not speaking with one voice. We tend to, you talk about ethnocentrism.
Yes.
And I think it goes beyond ethnocentrism. It's about, greed. Because we have this terrible attitude as a people that when something does not favor me or it does not fall
To your side.
on my path, then let all hell get loose. I don't think that is how life should be lived. You recollect, it's like living the life of one of those women who came to King Solomon in the Bible, you recollect.
Yes.
Where, they were, at loggerheads over the
Child.
ownership of a child.
Yes.
And the one who is not the mother of the child now
Yes.
said, cut.
Into
The
two.
king said, should I cut the child into two? The one who is not the mother of the child said,
Go
yes,
ahead.
cut him into two. But the real mother, no, don't cut him. Give it to her. So, that was wisdom. So, I think while coming here, I've been ruminating about how did we get here? And how we got here is not far-fetched. We got to this sorry state that we are due to the military incursion into our politics. We were not like this. I remember I was born and brought up in this environment. And this environment was a very humane environment. But gradually, when the military came in and the military continued to play us, like the football on the pitch, we started losing our humanity. This was a society that those proverbs, were proverbs that germinated from this environment. There's this saying of ours that says, it takes a man and a woman to give birth to a child, but it takes a community
To build that child.
to build that child. But sadly, we're in a society today whereby if it is not my child, another person's child is none of my business, And for me, it's worrisome because I'm a parent by the grace of God as I speak to you.
Yes.
And when I look at my children, even if I want to give my children the best, will my children stay permanently all their life under me? Absolutely no. That is why, when my children were growing up, I took them to the football field very close in my community and told them that, look, these are the young boys and young girls that, you'll be rubbing minds in the society. So learn how to relate with them. I will not be there for you. Go and learn how to run on the streets. I learned, to, nurture myself even on the streets. And we were brought up with values. But when I look at the young ones today and what our society has become, I feel emotional. I feel pity. Because when we were growing up, we had mentors. We had people you could look up to. People were symbols. But these days, you look around you, even when you take a binocular, you hardly find one. You ask yourself, are these elders? I was privileged. I was privileged to be in a meeting of elders and, one elderly citizen, very prominent citizen of this country.
No,
I won't mention
No,
it.
we'll come to that.
Yeah.
Because we have a catalog of some of the elders you actually you linked up with, in your fight.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we'll look at all that. But what I would like us to again probably subsume from what you have said so far would be the fact that, okay, now there is a notion that knowledge and expertise like democratic governance, which come only from the Western world, is it an eternal solution to environment like ours? Must it be democracy? Can it be something else? Or you're also a sociologist, so how do you look at it?
Well, I don't want to agree that democracy came from the Western world.
I like that.
Yeah, because just like we say every time, the River Niger had always existed
before it was discovered.
Before somebody said he discovered it, it's just because somebody was fortunate to to put it into paper, and it becomes an historical document. You look at our environment. We had kingdoms. I remember when I was in school, I read about the Oyo Kingdom.
Yes,
that was a democratic environment, whereby it is whatever the communities want that the Oyomesi, the kingmakers, will take to the king. They are the chiefs, they will take to the king. And that becomes, and where a king goes contrary to the values of the community, nobody will bring a gun to his head. They will just put calabash,
right in his front.
In the front of his palace. And that was a very clear message. No king there disobeyed it. So for me, that was democracy as well. And because we live in a complex society now, does not mean that we can still not practice that culture of relating with one another, which is called governance.
Yes.
But sadly, we seem to want to drift away from it, allowing other extraneous factors to whittle down the influence of that system of governance. So I don't want to believe that democracy is alien to Africa. Africa has always practiced the system of governance even before we were colonized. And then if we have imbibed some Western values, it is for us to look at those values that can mix very well with our own local environment, and do the needful. But we have continued to see the recent incursion of military coupists, most especially in the West African sub-region. And if you look at the indices, some persons have come up to say, oh, what is giving rise to military incursion is due to bad governance. I beg to disagree. The only fault is that the civilian administration or democratic dispensation is one that rules based on the will of the people, and because we don't have developed institutions. When I mean developed institutions, I mean even the civilian populace. For people to realize that, look, a civilian administration or a democratic administration has a tenure. That if I'm not pleased with this administration, in another XY number of days or years, I will go back there and perform my civic responsibility. But persons want to assume that once you cast your ballots, whoever wins, if it's not in tandem with where you voted, then everything should be uprooted. No, it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be that way. I think the major reason for the military intervention in a democratic space in Africa is because those institutions of states that are supposed to develop the citizens as well as other instruments of state are not strong enough. The level of illiteracy is very, very high.
And impoverishment.
That is a very strong weapon. The level of poverty is on the increase. A lot of times when people talk about, people are unemployed, there's poverty in the land, the question I always ask, yes, people have always been poor since the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Because I recollect, and I always use that, reference. If you recollect, I'm a Christian, the woman poured a very expensive oil.
Yes.
And people said, Abba,
She's wasting it.
you are wasting it. This thing could have been sold and the money given to the poor.
And Jesus said,
Jesus said, you always have the
poor with you.
So the poor have always been with us. But be that as it may, government at every level has a responsibility, to ensure that they put in place measures that would empower the citizenry, in terms of education, in terms of harnessing their skills, to make life better for themselves. So for me, there's no excuse for military intervention because they have always made things worse.